What's up, gang? All right, you made it to the end of segment number 4. This is the 4th episode in our 4th segment. 4th segment being regarding preparing for those showings, and this 4th episode being how to create a seamless showing experience and using the very important seller's property disclosures as a tool in doing so. Now, we have talked about these seller's disclosures many times, these property disclosures in previous episodes. I've touched on them. But today we're going to double click on these property disclosures because they often get overlooked by people who don't need no stinking realtor to sell their homes. And they're an integral part of really building that trustworthy atmosphere with your buyers and, just satisfying the law as well, big part of it. So what are seller's disclosures? Let's be specific. They are a document in which you, a homeowner, can list everything you do know about your property. Now, there are many ways you can come to know everything about your property, but that's not necessarily what these disclosures are there to provide. They are there to provide what you know as the property owner that you have come to understand during your tenure as the owner of this property. Not something you heard about the previous owner at the closing table that may or not be true. Not something that you heard might be happening to the property down the road because the city has some plan for the street outside. Just what you do know about your property now. Now, there may be some things that you don't know off the top of your head that you could research in your own documentation or that you might want to figure out because you think it's an important and desirable condition of your home that you want to educate the public about. But for the terms of today's discussion, let's understand that it's really, and most importantly, just what you know easily off the top of your head. So things like, what year was your home built? How old is your heating system? How old is your roof? Is your basement concrete foundation, or is it Riverstone, or some sort of poured block, or whatever the case may be? Things like, if you're a condo, what your homeowners association fees are? Do you have a working capital deposit? All of the information that a buyer of any property would want to know eventually, but could possibly digest through you disclosing everything about your property. Also, this is a place where you can disclose material defects or things that are not necessarily very desirable about your property. Now you're thinking to yourself, and everybody would, of course, why in the world would I want to, out of the gate, educate the buying public on things that are not good about my house? And the reason is that A, we talked about building that trust. B, satisfying the law. It is real estate law that a seller disclose to a potential buyer everything that could materially affect its value. But also, it's going to get you out of hot water and offer you an opportunity to dig your heels in if and when a buyer discovers something through their property inspections that is not desirable, that you've already disclosed on these property disclosures. Why? Is because they made that offer on your home after having supposedly, if they've got a buyer's agent, definitely, but supposedly read through your property disclosures. Now, if you've offered me $500,000 on my home knowing, because I've already disclosed it, that I have a leaky basement, why in the world would I offer you a credit for repair of that leaky basement? I've told you it's leaky. You offered me 500 grand. You're buying it with that leaky basement. I'm not paying for it. So, opportunity to bail yourself out of having to take any potential price reductions on the agreed purchase price of your home after property inspections. Now, imagine you're a buyer, and again, this is to do with eliminating question marks. You're a buyer, you walk into a home, you're in love with it. Maybe you have, hopefully you've read the buyer's disclosures, maybe you have not. Most of them will not because of aforementioned lack of time. But you, as a prepared home seller, have filled out your property disclosures. Not only have you posted them online, but you've also printed out copies for everybody that comes to those showings to have with them as they're moving through your house. And as a buyer, you want to have all your questions answered so you can be ultimately confident that the house you are about to make an offer on is the one for you, and you can really go, absolutely to the maximum of your purchasing power, empty your wallet to buy this house without any reservations and misgivings. And you walk into the master bedroom and there is a water stain on the ceiling. Now, they could ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what's up with the water stain? Oh, that was a leak back in 95, the tub upstairs in my kid's bath, they put a hole in it with one of their toys, and I didn't really even recognize that I had a leak for a couple of weeks, and it dripped slowly until we saw the water on the ceiling, and then we fixed the leak, but I just never got around to painting the ceiling. Likely story, but if it's on the property disclosures, which are, as we understand, legally binding, that buyer has much more confidence in your story. Your story is on paper, and if it's ever come to be discovered that that is not the case for the leak and that the leak is not fixed and that it's still active, they do have A, legal recourse, and B, at least an opportunity during inspections to ask you for a credit to fix that leaky tub. Moreover, we just want people to have all their questions answered in a fashion where they can really be confident that is no longer a question mark. It's eliminated from anything that's prohibiting me from making an offer as a buyer. Now, unfortunately, as we described earlier, if you don't need no stinking realtor, you're not going to have access to the same forms that we do. Some light Googling should produce whatever state forms are available to you as a consumer. If not, get a hold of your attorney. We already mentioned that you've got one on retainer. They know that you're going to be selling your home. They're expecting inquiries and requests for support in this regard. They should be able to offer you some documentation to allow you to do this. Now, take your time. Be thorough when you're filling out the property disclosures, but as I stated before, don't over disclose. It is not for you, nor is it to your benefit to go trying to fill out every field to make sure every piece of information is there, because if you screw it up, again, you're going to give yourself an opportunity for folks to kind of take advantage there where they wouldn't have otherwise. So stick to the rules, disclose what you know you should, disclose what you want to disclose. Here's a good example. We did some renovations back in 2008, and we replaced blah, 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 whatever it is. People entering your home can see that there's been some updating since, who knows, early in the aughts, but they may not know what year. They may not know if you pulled permits. There's all sorts of things you can put in these property disclosures to give people a better understanding of your property and hopefully a rosier outlook of what your property means to them. So there you have it. That about wraps up all the concepts we wanted to get across in segment number 4 about preparing for your showings. It's a lot, but you're a smarty pants. You've digested it all. You're sticking it in your brain somewhere, watching it over and over and over again, driving our engagement on YouTube, hopefully. And speaking of YouTube, if you love this content and you're getting some alpha out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. And we'll see you on the next 7 segments, which are now going to transition to the post-offer universe, where we're going to delve into evaluating offers and judging them against one another, managing contingencies, negotiating through those contingencies, the appraisal, the mortgage contingency, and the inspections contingency, how to interact with all these service professionals, how to get them scheduled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot. We'll get to it soon, I promise. See you soon. Peace.